yeah, what else? Otherwise, how are things going your end, Chris? Are you working with BedTyme, and are you working on your own website too? And how are things going in general?
Yeah, things are pretty good. Juggling quite a few endeavors, sleep coaching. I still have my pest control business here in Florida. It's for sale if anyone wants to buy it. Just kidding. It is for sale though. I'm looking to, dive full time into sleep coaching. Working with BedTyme app part time and also sleep coaching on my own. And it's going good. I'm really enjoying it.
That's nice. So glad to hear. All right. Well, that said, we do have one question so far, but anyone who's here on this call, like, as you know, just put in your questions in the comment section and we will get to them. And we will check in with Brandon. And actually, Brandon, this is funny. I was thinking of you, Brandon, and I'm going to send you a message on Twitter on the topic that we discussed. And it just, I don't think there's any secret. Brandon actually reached out to me and said he would want to think of helping out in terms of like social media managing and things like that. So, yes. So with that said, Brandon says, "Hi, coaches. How do I get over the mental slump of waking up after a few hours and not being able to fall back asleep? I fall asleep, no problem, but then wake up 3 to 5 hours later and can't get back. It's been this way for 9 months, and I don't know what the reason is." Yeah, so I think, again, Brandon's falling asleep without any struggle, wakes up 3 to 5 hours later, not falling back asleep. What do you think when you hear this, Chris?
Well, like most things with insomnia, it's pretty normal. From what we hear all the time, what I experienced myself, um, us humans, we wake up multiple times, per night. I'm not sure what the average number is. I know it's quite a bit. With insomnia, however, we tend to notice those awakenings more just because we are kind of predisposed to being in a hyper aroused state. We've become accustomed to being on high alert, if you will, at night. Super frustrating, to say the least. I understand you, Brandon, completely. And you may be wondering, 9 months, I'm, befriending wakefulness to the best of my ability. Why is this still happening rather? It could be various reasons. I think at the end of the day, there could be some residual fear there. But, ultimately, how we respond, how we view those awakenings will essentially determine, how long it sticks around or not.
Yeah, no, I have very little to add except, yeah, exactly. Like we normally wake up, and when we don't react to the fact that we're woken up, then we, fall back asleep again. And I think it's always the same. It's like whatever, for somebody like Brandon, I'm thinking like whatever led you to not have any struggle falling asleep initially is also what's going to lead you to having trouble falling back asleep, which is essentially not, not struggling to try to force sleep, but just being sort of okay with being awake in that moment. And I don't know if this applies to Brandon or not, but sometimes when I hear this, like, 3 to 5 hours later, I'm like, how do you know it's 3 to 5 hours later? And if anybody's like checking the time and measuring and counting, it can be an invitation to let go of that, which can be really helpful.
Yeah, totally. And just to kind of segue off of that briefly,
Yeah.
it's quite common to ask yourself, why is this still happening? It's been 9 months. There could be some monitoring there still. But I think it's one of those things where once you stop questioning why it's still happening, you kind of, diffuse that curiosity, so to speak. You're more willing to stand the chance of actually recovering a bit faster, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. It's like when we no longer wonder, it's, there's the curiosity is often the source of hyperarousal and some struggle. Yeah, it makes so much sense. All right, let's check in with Jennifer. Jennifer says, "Hi, Dan. I'm here watching. Thanks for the free content. Anytime. So glad you're here. I have been following Chris as well. Nice. I'm 3 months into my journey and I feel improvement, although my sleep is still in increments. My question is how to train the mind to stop checking the clock. My brain automatically calculates how many hours of sleep I get." Did this happen to you, Chris?
It did. And I would urge you, if you're checking the time, try not to. For me, going timeless was huge. it was a big turning point in my recovery. Because oftentimes I would look at the clock repeatedly throughout the night. Um, Question your brain. Literally talk to it like if it's another entity. Like, how do you know how much time we've been awake? Like, how do you know what time it is? Like, you can't be sure. Like, it wants to know, but it doesn't know for sure. I mean, like, literally question your brain and its ability to know exactly what time it is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes so much sense to me. Like it loves numbers and like trying to have control, but as you said, it doesn't really know. It just throws out these. It's like, oh, it's probably this time. I've probably slept this much. But when we don't confirm that, it
Right.
doesn't know. So we kind of like keep it from getting anything to work with, which can be really helpful. And then the other thing that came to my mind was here is another common question, which is, um, it can be from a parent who has to kind of like feed their kids, and they say like, well, I have to know what time it is to feed my kids. Or somebody who says, well, what I like to do when I'm awake at night is like, actually, I like to, watch some Netflix or be on my phone, and then I will see the time. There's no way for me to avoid that. How can I meet that situation? And to me, what I usually reply there is that we can anything we can turn anything really into some sort of like self exploration in a way. And so if we can't not know the time, which is often really helpful, not knowing the time is often really helpful, but if not, that's not practical for us, we can, turn this into self-exploration. How do we do that? Well, it's sort of like before we see what time it is, we can already then think about like, okay, let me see how I'm going to react when I know what time it is, when I get to know the time again. And then we see what time again it is. And then we can be like, whoa, I felt like a jolt of adrenaline. My heart started beating. And then we're like, okay, this just means I'm scared of being awake. There's some fear there. Or we can be like, we see the time and then our brain goes like, oh, then I have so many hours to sleep. It starts doing all this math. And then we can be like, okay, I'm seeing that my brain is trying to do this math. It's attempting to have control. And then also the where we go like, we see the time and we're like, there was no particular reaction. And then we can be like, okay, well, this fear is fading away. So when we become sort of like more observers of ourselves rather than being inside a struggle, can really help. What do you think of that, Chris?
Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, it's something that I had to overcome myself. There came a point where, not looking at the time was kind of unsustainable. That little piece of tape was kind of falling off, and I just was getting sick and tired of covering the time at night. Seemed a bit ridiculous after 6 months or so. But yeah, I had to work with that fear. And exactly like you said it, I would have to observe how I would react. And lo and behold, I would check the time and I would feel unsettled. I'd feel nervous. If I only had 2 hours before the sun came up or before my alarm went off, I would feel really uneasy. But that gave me an opportunity to work with that fear and go deep within myself and work with whatever thoughts, came at that moment, when it came to knowing the time. So yeah, that's a key point there for sure, Daniel.
Yeah, well said.